Welcome, champs, to English Kapotli, and I am Abhijit, and this is the part 2 of the lesson of Treasure Chest ICSE story, The Homecoming. This is the part 2. Part 1 I have already uploaded in my channel. You can find it in the playlist. I have made a playlist for this one, and you can also find this one in the description box. The link is already there. Okay, you can go and read from there. चलो चैम्स, आज का लेसन हम लोग शुरू करते हैं। मैं थोड़ा जिस्ट में बोल देता हूं पहला पार्ट 1 में क्या हुआ था। सी दिस स्टोरी द होम कमिंग, इट इज रिगार्डिंग अ टीनेज बॉय फोटिक चक्रवर्ती। ओके, फोटिक चक्रवर्ती स्टेज अलोंग विथ हिज मदर इन अ विलेज एंड ही इज हैविंग अ ब्रदर हुज नेम इज माखन। ओके, तो एक्चुअली फोटिक चक्रवर्ती इज shown here to be a very naughty child. Okay, he has lost his फादर एट ए वेरी अर्ली एज, बहुत ही कम उम्र में उनका फादर गुजर जाते हैं। फोटिक चक्रवर्ती को पढ़ाई में उतना ध्यान नहीं है, और फोटिक चक्रवर्ती का माँ मीन्स हिज मदर, ही इज ऑल्सो वेरी बायस्ड बिटवीन द टू सन। ओके, तो नाउ व्हाट हैपेंड, फोटिक चक्रवर्तीज maternal uncle means mama, he comes to the village and he gives a proposal that he wants to take Photik Chakraborty along with him to Kolkata, to Calcutta. Okay, तो उन्हें कैलकाटा ले जाने का, माने दिस इज द ओल्ड नेम, प्रीवियसली इट वाज कैलकाटा, नाउ इट इज कोलकाता। तो अभी फोटिक चक्रवर्ती का मैटरनल अंकल उनको कोलकाता ले जाना चाहते हैं, एंड फोटिक चक्रवर्ती हैज आल्सो एक्सेप्टेड दिस प्रपोजल, क्योंकि फोटिक चक्रवर्ती सोच रहा था कि नया जगह है, इट विल बी अ न्यू प्लेस, एंड यू नो फोटिक चक्रवर्ती इज इन ए वेरी वांट ऑफ लव, अ बॉय, अ टीनेज बॉय, दिस इज ही इज एन एडोलेसेंस। तो आप सभी एडोलेसेंस हो गए, एवरीबडी इन दिस एज दे नीड लव, मदरली लव। ओके, तो दैट इज व्हाई व्हाट हैपेंड, ही हैज एक्सेप्टेड, नया जगह है, चलो चलते हैं, दैट इज व्हाई। सी, इन माय फर्स्ट वीडियो आई हैव टॉट अप टू हियर, ही bequeathed to Makhan in perpetuity his fishing rods, his big kite and his marbles. Indeed, at this time of departure, his generosity towards Makhan was unbounded, means limitless. मैं first video में I have taught up to here. Come on, let us start today's. When they reached Calcutta, Photik made the acquaintance of his aunt. So now what happened? Photik, first time he has met his aunt, acquaintance with his aunt, met with his aunt, means maternal aunt Mami, for the first time. She was by no means pleased with this unnecessary addition to her family. ये जो unnecessary addition means addition of Photik Chakraborty. Addition means यहां से पता चल रहा है, means she is not at all having a very good opinion. उनको अच्छा नहीं लगा. She already has 3 sons. पहले से ही उनका 3 बच्चे थे, and this is the another one, means 4th one. This will be a troublesome for her family burden. ठीक है, financial problem, so many things. She found her own 3 sons quite enough to manage without taking anyone else. And to bring a lad of 14, means 14 साल का उनका एज था फोटिक चक्रवर्ती का, into their midst in the middle was terribly upsetting. ये बहुत ही upsetting था. Bishambar, he is the maternal uncle of Photik Chakraborty, should really have thought twice before committing such an discretion. उनको दोबारा सोचना चाहिए था. He should have thought twice before committing such an indiscretion. Indiscretion means lack of good judgment. Now what happened, she is thinking कि बिशंबर को दोबारा सोचना चाहिए था इस तरह का जजमेंट लेने का पहले. Followed. In this world of human affairs, there is no worse nuisance than a boy at the age of 14. ये जो हमारा means this, in this world, there is no nuisance than a boy at the age of 14 years. Means adolescence जो एज है ना, this age is really very difficult. Means बहुत जन इस एज का बच्चे लोग उनको ठीक से एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर सकते. Means the boys or girls belonging to this age, they also cannot properly adjust in a new environment. उन लोगों के लिए नया environment में adjust करना, and that too in the house of the relatives, ये थोड़ा difficult हो जाता है. He is neither ornamental, means देखने में बहुत सुंदर भी नहीं है, means यहाँ पर so many body का changes होता है, फिजिकल चेंजेस इज देयर, वॉइस चेंज होते हैं, अपीयरेंस में भी चेंज होता है, नॉर यूजफुल, कोई भी काम का नहीं है. इट इज इम्पॉसिबल टू शावर अफेक्शन ऑन हिम एज ऑन अ लिटिल बॉय. कोई भी बच्चा रहता था तो उनके लिए अफेक्शन होता है, लेकिन एडोलेसेंस के लिए अफेक्शन नहीं होता है. and he is always getting in the way, means he has getting in the way means just as if a obstruction. If he talks with the childish lisp, he is called a baby. अगर इस एज का बच्चा means इस एज का जो बॉय, if he speaks also in a very low tone, धीरे धीरे, ठीक है, in a shrill voice, तब बोला गया यार बच्चे का जैसा बात मत करो, don't act like a child, so many problem. And if he answers in a grown up, he is called impertinent. अगर कोई grown up का जैसा भी अगर बात करता है, if he speaks just like a grown up, then he is also considered to be a impertinent. Okay, एक्चुअली impertinent का मतलब है आपका रूड बिहेवियर करना. इनफैक्ट एनी टॉक एट ऑल फ्रॉम हिम इज रिसेंटेड. इसका मतलब ये है अगर वो कोई भी बात करता है, वट एवर ही स्पीक्स, इट इज ऑलवेज रिसेंटेड, मीन्स इट इज ऑलवेज डिसलाइक्ड. देन ही इज एट द अनअट्रैक्टिव ग्रोइंग एज. दैट मीन्स अभी जो एडोलेसेंस दिस पीरियड, इट इज एन अनअट्रैक्टिव ग्रोइंग एज. ना वो बच्चा है ना वो एडल्ट हो चुका है, ही इज इन द मिडिल. ही ग्रोज आउट ऑफ हिज क्लोथ्स. अभी बॉडी का चेंजेस हो जाते हैं, मीन्स ए बॉय बिकम्स टॉल, ग्रोज आउट ऑफ हिज क्लोथ्स, मीन्स अपना जो क्लोथ्स है, क्लोथ्स उनका छोटा हो जाता है, दे हैव टू परचेज न्यू क्लोथ्स विथ इनडिसेंट हेस्ट, मीन बहुत जल्दी जल्दी बड़ा होता है, ग्रोन अप. हिज वॉइस ग्रोज होर्स एंड ब्रेक्स एंड क्वेवर्स, इट ट्रेम्बल्स ऑल्सो, मीन्स देर इज अ वॉइस चेंज ऑल्सो. दिस इज वेरी मच फाउंड इन अमोंग द बॉयज में वॉइस का चेंज होता है. अभी भी आप लोगों में बहुत सारा बच्चे हैं जिनका वॉइस चेंज हो रहा है. हिज फेस ग्रोज सडनली एंगुलर, इन एंगुलर शेप चेंज होता है, शेप माने फेस का भी. एंड अनस्लाइटली मीन्स इट अपीयर्स टू बी लिटिल बिट अगली, थोड़ा अगली लगता है. सो मेनी माने बियर्ड्स आने लगता है. सो मेनी चेंजेस इट अपीयर्स इन द बॉडी में बहुत सारा हार्मोनल चेंजेस भी होता है. इट इज इजी टू एक्सक्यूज द शॉर्ट कमिंग्स ऑफ अर्ली चाइल्डहुड. अगर कोई भी बच्चा है इट्स अर्ली चाइल्डहुड का, तो उसका कोई भी शॉर्ट कमिंग्स, इफ एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ शॉर्ट कमिंग्स, इफ एनी डिसएडवांटेजेस आर नोटिस्ड इन दैट चाइल्ड, तो उसको क्या किया, नजरअंदाज किया जाता है. मीन्स इट इज माने कैन बी एक्सक्यूज, बट इट इज हार्ड टू टॉलरेट इवन अनअवॉइडेबल लैप्सेस इन अ बॉय ऑफ 14. मीन्स सम लैप्सेस मीन्स व्हाट, if some sort of shortcomings are there, means ये सब lapses को नजरअंदाज किया भी जा सकता है, फिर भी हम लोग उसको टॉलरेट नहीं करते. The lad himself becomes painfully self-conscious when he talks with elderly people. He is either unduly forward. अगर with elderly people का साथ अगर बात करते हैं तो बोलेगा कि यार भाई ये लड़का बहुत ज्यादा फॉरवर्ड है, is unduly very forward, or else so unduly shy that he appears ashamed of his very existence. और इन लोगों को क्या होता है ना, बिकॉज ऑफ ऑल दिस थिंग्स समटाइम्स दे डोंट टॉक एंड इट बिकम्स वेरी अशेम्ड, और एल्स सो अनड्यूली शाई दैट ही अपीयर्स अशेम्ड ऑफ हिज वेरी एग्जिस्टेंस. तो कभी कभी अपने एग्जिस्टेंस के लिए वो उन लोगों दे फील अशेम्ड ऑफ देयर एग्जिस्टेंस ओनली. तो दिस इज द थिंग. तो ये जो आपका पैराग्राफ है, इट इज रिगार्डिंग द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ एन एडोलेसेंस. ये सभी के लिए मोर और लेस अप्लाई होता है दिस थिंग. येट it is at this very age when his hearts of young lad most craves for recognition. इस एज में a girl or a boy, you know, runs for recognition, chases for recognition, कि उनका कोई उनको recognize करे, give them some importance and love, and they are also very hungry for love, and he becomes the devoted slave of anyone who shows him consideration. और कोई भी अगर उनको कंसिडर करते, मीन्स गिव सम सॉर्ट ऑफ इंपॉर्टेंस, उन लोग उनके लिए स्लेव बन जाते हैं. डिवोटेड स्लेव मीन्स नौकर का जैसा, मीन्स दे विल लिसन टू एवरीथिंग ऑफ दैट पर्सन, बट नन डेयर ओपनली लव हिम. लेकिन कोई भी ओपनली नोबडी लव्स हिम, फॉर दैट वुड बी रिगार्डेड एज अनड्यू इंडल्जेंस and therefore bad for the boy, and this one will be considered undue indulgence, and this is bad for the boy. So what in with scolding and cheating, he becomes very much like a stray dog that has lost his master. ये जो हर वक्त डांट मिलता है, स्कोल्डिंग, चीटिंग, गाली गलौज, तो इसके लिए क्या होता है, he is no better than a stray dog, means a roadside dog who has lost his master. For a boy of 14, his own home is the only paradise. तो इस तरह का बच्चों के लिए ना क्या होता है ना, their own home, अपना घर ही paradise है, means just like a heaven. To live in a strange house with strange people is little short of torture. Strange house, अनजान घर, अनजान व्यक्ति लोगों को साथ रहना, to stay along with unknown persons in an unknown house, it is no less than a torture. ये बहुत ही torture सम होता है. With height of bliss is to receive the kind of looks of women. Height of bliss. Bliss means what? Happiness. Happiness can only be achieved by the kind look of a woman. Means if he is in his house, he may get kind looks from the mother, and he is expecting a kind look from the maternal aunt. Okay, so this is the situation, but you already know the maternal aunt is not having a good opinion regarding Photic, and never to be slighted by them, and he never wanted, means, and they never want to be hated by them. Okay, it was anguish to Photic to be the unwelcome guest in his aunt's house. So this is a very pain for Photic. Anguish matlab pain, ये बहुत दर्दनाक था, that he has become an unwelcome guest in his aunt's house, despised by his elderly women, rejected by this elderly woman, and slighted, means hated on every occasion. If she ever asked him to do anything for her, he would be so overjoyed that he would overdo it. कभी कभी कुछ भी काम अगर उनका maternal aunt means मामी दिया करते थे, वो काम कर, माने वो जो काम था उससे ज्यादा काम कर दिया करते थे. He used to do more than the expectations, and that is why what happened. और वो बहुत खुशी भी होता था कि चलो मामी ने मुझे ये काम करने के लिए दिया है, और वो ज्यादा कुछ कर जाता था. And then she would tell him not to be so stupid, but to get on with his lessons. भाई इतना उल्लू मत बनो, don't be so stupid, चलो अपना पढ़ाई करो. Means किसी भी तरह से मामी always tried to expose that she is not having a very good opinion for him. Means थोड़ा सा भी हंस के बात भी नहीं करते थे. The cramped atmosphere of neglect. This cramped means this troublesome, this suffocation, this cramped the cramped atmosphere of neglect, this suffocating atmosphere of neglect in aunt's house oppressed. It is very oppressing for Photic, so much that he felt that he could hardly breathe. तो उन्हें सांस लेने के लिए भी तकलीफ हो रहा था इस तरह का atmosphere में, suffocating atmosphere था. He wanted to go out in the open country and fill his lungs and breathe freely. Now what happened? He is having a desire कि चलो मेरा open country में. He wanted to go back to his village where he will breathe very freely. But there was no open country to go to. लेकिन this is Calcutta. चारों तरफ buildings were there, narrow streets are there, traffic is there. तो यहाँ पर कोई open country है ही नहीं. Surrounded on all sides by Calcutta houses and walls, he would dream night after night of his village home and longed to be back there, and he wished that he should return back to his village. He remembered the glorious meadows, means grasslands, where he used to fly his kite all day long, the broad river banks, ये अपना village का बारे में सोच रहा है, where he would wander about, live long days singing and shouting for joy. So these all things he used to do when he was in the village. Okay, the narrow brook where he could go and dive and swim in any time he liked. He thought of his band of boy companions over whom he was despot. Means boy companions, जिस लोगों का ऊपर वो सबसे बड़ा राजा था, उन लोगों का leader था. He was a despot. Followed. And above all, the memory of the tyrant mother. Means this tyrant means you see the word it is used, tyrant. That means what? Photic always thought that there should be motherly affection from his mother. लेकिन motherly affection को कभी भी Photic को मिला ही नहीं. Of his who had such a prejudice against him, means always he used to differentiate. Prejudice means differentiation था उनमें और माखन में. Occupied him day and night. A kind of physical love like that of animals. A longing to be in the presence of one who is loved. जैसे कि एनिमल्स चाहते हैं ना कि एनिमल्स ऑल्सो वांट कि जो लोग एनिमल्स को पसंद करते हैं, एनिमल्स ऑलवेज स्टे देयर ओनली. तो हियर ऑल्सो Photic is having that sort of desire, that urge, an inexpressible wistfulness during absence, means which cannot be expressed in words. Inexpressible माने जिसे वर्ड से कभी आप एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर सकते. Wistfulness during absence माने it is a sad feeling which he was thinking during in the absence of all these things which was available in the village. A silent cry of the innermost heart for the mother. Means he is crying for his mother. Like the lowing of a calf in the twilight. जैसे कि कोई calf in the twilight रोते हैं, just similarly, Photic was also crying, suppressed. This love, which was almost an animal instinct, this तरह का love, it is almost found in an animal, agitated the shy. तो ये love उसका shy को और भी shyness को और agitate करते, माने increase करते, nervous, lean, uncouth and ugly boy. अनकॉथ का मतलब है आपका रूड एंड अगली. तो ये सब चीज उनका और भी एजिटेट करता, और भी एक्साइट करते. नो वन कुड अंडरस्टैंड इट, लेकिन इसे कोई समझ नहीं पा रहा था. नोबडी वाज एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट वन, बट ही प्रेड अपॉन हिज माइंड कंटिन्यूअली. लेकिन ये सब चीज उसका माइंड में हर वक्त कंटिन्यूअसली दीज ऑल थिंग्स वेर देयर. देयर वाज नो मोर बैकवर्ड बॉय इन द होल स्कूल देन फोटिक. यहां पर भी एक चेंज है. इन द विलेज ही वॉज द मास्टर, सभी दोस्तों का वो राजा था, ही वॉज अ किंग. ओके, लेकिन आज क्या हुआ? ही इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी द मोस्ट बैकवर्ड बॉय इन द होल स्कूल. ही गैप्ड एंड रिमेन साइलेंट व्हेन द टीचर आस्क्ड हिम अ क्वेश्चन. ही रिमेन ओपन माउथेड. ही यूज्ड टू स्टेयर एट द टीचर एंड रिमेन साइलेंट. जब भी क्वेश्चंस कुछ भी पूछा जाता था, whenever the teacher used to ask him any question, he remained open mouthed and stared. And like an overladen ass, patiently suffered all the blows that came down on his back. जैसे कि कोई भी ass को, कोई भी गधा को बर्डन का ऊपर बर्डन, लोड आफ्टर लोड उनका पीठ में दिया जाता है, मुंह बंद करके वो सब लोड को एक्सेप्ट करते हैं. सिमिलरली फोटिक मारा जाता था. फोटिक वॉज बीटन इन द स्कूल एंड यूज्ड टू टॉलरेट ऑल दिस सफरिंग्स with closed mouth. When other boys were out to play, he stood wistfully at the window. Means he used to, बाकी सब बच्चे जब खेलने निकल जाते थे, Photic means beside the window he used to stand and used to be very sad and gazed at the roofs of the distant houses. और दूर का घर का जो छत है उस लोगों को देखता रहता था. He used to stare at all those houses. But if by chance he espied children playing on the open terrace of any roof, कभी भी कोई भी समय में किसी भी चिल्ड्रन को, किसी भी बच्चे लोग उनको अगर वो देखते थे कि छत पे खेल रहा है, his heart would ache with longing. Means his heart used to pain with the desire to play. Okay. One day he summoned up all his courage and asked uncle, when can I go home? एक दिन अंकल को जाके पूछ लेते कि मामा मैं कब घर जा सकता हूं. His uncle answered, wait till the holidays come. अरे भाई अभी रुको, छुट्टियों में जाओगे. When the holidays will come, you will go. But holidays would not come till November. नवंबर का पहले तो holidays आने वाला नहीं था. And there was a long time still to wait. Okay. One day, Photic lost his lesson book. एक दिन क्या हुआ? Photic अपना जो बुक है उसको खो देते. He just loses the book. Even with the help of books, he had found it very difficult indeed to prepare his lessons. अगर बुक रहने से भी, उनका पास जो बुक्स है वो बुक्स रहते हुए भी उनको लेसन्स प्रिपेयर करने में दिक्कत होता था. यूज्ड टू फाइंड डिफिकल्ट. इवन दो बुक्स आर देयर, देन आल्सो यूज्ड टू फाइंड डिफिकल्ट इन प्रिपेयरिंग द लेसन्स. अभी तो बुक है नहीं, और भी प्रॉब्लम. नाउ इट वाज इम्पॉसिबल. अभी तो बुक खो गया, अब तो इम्पॉसिबल हो गया. डे आफ्टर डे द टीचर वुड केम हिम अनमर्सीफुली. अभी बहुत पीटते थे without any mercy. His condition became so abjectly miserable that even his cousins were ashamed of to own him. उनका cousins को भी शर्म लगता था फोटिक के लिए. They began to jeer and insult him more than other boys. उन लोगों ने भी उनको देख के हंसी, उनका खिल्ली उड़ाया करते थे. Used to make fun of him, insult him more than the other boys. बाकी दूसरों बच्चों से ज्यादा ये जो cousins था उन लोगों का, ये तो और भी शैतान. He went to his aunt at last. बाद में he gathers all his courage और अपना मामी को जाके कहते, just goes and tells his maternal aunt, told her that he had lost his book. उनको जाके ये बताते कि मेरा बुक खो गया है. His aunt pursed his lips in contempt. उसे गुस्सा आ जाता है and said, you great clumsy country lout. Lout का मतलब क्या है? Means मूर्ख. Okay. How can I afford with all my family to buy you new books 5 times a month? This is 5 times a month. ये बच्चा तो एक ही बार बुक को घुमाया है. For the first time he has lost the book. And see the aunt, she is telling that शी हैज टू परचेज एवरी मंथ 5 times, 5 बार उनके लिए बुक्स खरीदना पड़ता है. दिस सॉर्ट ऑफ मैंने ब्लेम शी इज गिविंग. That night, on his way back from school, Fatik had a bad headache with a fit of shivering. He felt he was going to have an attack of malaria fever. तो जब वो घर से वापस आ रहा था, उनका बहुत जोड़ों का सर दर्द कर रहा था, और he was shivering, he was trembling, और उन्हें लग रहा था कि that he is suffering from malaria fever. His one great fear was that he would be a nuisance to his aunt. अभी वो सोच रहा था कि अगर मुझे कोई भी फीवर या कोई भी डिजीज हो जाता है, देन आई विल बी अ ट्रबलसम. मैं तो ऐसा ही बहुत ट्रबलसम हूं आंट के लिए, और कोई भी डिजीज हो जाता है तो आंट के लिए मैं और ज्यादा बर्डन बन जाऊंगा, और ज्यादा न्यूसेंस आई विल क्रिएट इन द हाउस. तो दिस वॉज द फीलिंग. अ चाइल्ड, अ मियर बॉय ऑफ 14 years, he has to think so many things. See, he was devoid of love. Motherly love था नहीं. स्कूल में उनका अच्छा रेपुटेशन भी नहीं था. Nobody used to understand him properly. He was not having friends. Always the teachers used to scold him. Even his cousins also, they were not friendly. They used to make fun of him and they used to insult him every moment. So this is the condition of Photik Chakraborty. The next morning, Photik was nowhere to be seen. दूसरे दिन Photik को कहीं नहीं दिखाई दे रहा था. All searches in the neighborhood became proved futile. कहीं पर भी बहुत जगह उनको ढूंढा गया, but it was useless, futile. The rain had been pouring in torrents. There was a torrential rainfall, heavy rainfall all night. Those who went out in search of the boy got drenched. जो भी उनको ढूंढने गए थे सब भीग गए थे. Through to the skin. At last, Bishambar asked help from the police. उसका बाद कोई और नतीजा नहीं मिला, तो इसके लिए last of all what happened, he has lodged a report to the police. At the end of the day, a police van stopped at the door before the house. End of the day, police van आते हैं, फोटिक को ढूंढ के लेके आते हैं. It was still raining and the streets were all flooded. अभी भी बारिश हो रहा था और streets were flooded. पूरा पानी से भरा हुआ था. Two constables brought out Photik in their arms and placed him before Bishambar. He was wet from head to foot. भींगा हुआ था Photik पूरा, muddy all over. His face and eyes flushed red with fever. बुखार से पूरा शरीर, it was very hot because of fever. And it has face and eyes, they became red because of fever. And his limbs were trembling, कांप रहा था. Bishambar carried in his arms and took him into the inner apartments. घर में लेके जाते अंदर में. When his wife saw him, she exclaimed, "What a heap of trouble this boy has given us." पहले ही this sort of negative version has been found from the aunt. भाई लड़का खो गया था, उसका परिस्थिति क्या है? Just ask him, भाई आप कहाँ गए थे, तुम कहाँ गए थे? Give him some sort of love. Already he was suffering from fever. Whole night he was out. पूछो बच्चे को. नहीं. Hadn't you better send him home? अब अपना हस्बैंड को बोलते, इनको अच्छा होगा आप इनको घर भेज दीजिए. Photik heard her words and sobbed out loud. Uncle, I was just going home, but they dragged me back again. मैं घर ही जा रहा था अंकल, लेकिन इन लोगों ने, पुलिस मुझे पकड़ लेते हैं और मुझे यहां पर वापस लेके आते. They dragged me again. The fever rose very high and all that night the boy was delirious. Delirious का मतलब है he was not very conscious, उल्टा पलटा बक रहा था, conscious नहीं था mind. And he was not able to speak very clearly. Bishambar brought in a doctor. Doctor को बुलाते. Photik opened his eyes, flushed with fever, and looked up at the ceiling and said vacantly, "Uncle, have the holidays come yet? May I go home?" क्या छुट्टी आ गया है? As the holidays is there. क्या मैं घर जा सकता हूँ? तो this is the thing. यार ये पढ़ाते पढ़ाते my throat is also getting choked. Bishambar wiped the tears from his own eyes. Bishambar, he is also feeling very depressed, very sad because, लेकिन wife ऐसा है कि Bishambar has no other option, and took Photik's lean and burning hands in his own and sat by him through the night. The boy began again to mutter. Mutter means what? In a low, suppressed voice. At last his voice became excited. "Mother," he cried, "don't beat me like that, mother. I am telling the truth." See, ये उनका, this is a, उनका साइकोलॉजी में घुस गया था कि मदर इज हैविंग अ प्रिजुडाइज, मदर मुझे नहीं पसंद करते, मदर खाली माखन को पसंद करते, और मदर मुझे मारते, मीन्स इनका सपना में भी मदर उनको मार रहा है. दिस थिंग ऑलवेज यूज्ड टू अपीयर. The next day, Fating became conscious for a short time. थोड़ा देर के लिए उनको he regains the consciousness. He turned his eyes about the room as if expecting someone to come. वो सोच रहा था, he was expecting, he was having a hope that someone will come. At last, with an air of disappointment, his head sank back on the pillow. He was expecting whom? He was expecting that his mother will come. He turned his face to the wall with a deep sigh, has taken a deep breath, और अपना जो चेहरा दीवार का तरफ कर दे. Bishambhar knew his thoughts and bending down his head whispered, Fatik, I have sent for your mother. Fatik, मैंने तुम्हारा माँ को बुलाया हूँ. I have called her. The day went by. The doctor said in a troubled voice that the boy's condition was very critical. डॉक्टर आके वार्निंग देते कि बॉय का जो कंडीशन है is very critical, means serious. Fatik began to cry out, by the mark 3 fathoms, by the mark 4 fathoms, by the mark. तो यहां पर ये जो फटिक, तो उनका जो विलेज था नदी का किनारे पे था, तो ये वहां पर जो नदी में जो भी आपका जो सेलर्स होते थे, they used to tell this one. In this way, the sailors used to judge the depth of the water. Okay, इस तरह से वाटर का डेप्थ को जज किया करते थे. He had heard the sailors of the river steamer calling out the mark on the plumb line. Now he was himself plumbing an unfathomable sea. और अभी he was just plumbing an unfathomable sea, the unreachable sea. Because unreachable sea means what? Now he is going towards such a life, such a condition that is limitless. Later in the day, Fatik's mother burst into the room. At last, Fatik's mother has come. Like a whirlwind, एक जोरों का तूफान का जैसा आते हैं, and began to toss from side to side and moan and cry in a loud voice. रो रही थी जोर जोर से, चीख चीख के. Bishambhar tried to calm her agitation, but she flung herself on the bed and cried, Fatik, my darling, my darling. Fatik का बेड का ऊपर जोरों से गिरती है और Fatik, मेरा बच्चा, मेरा, my darling, she cries. Fatik stopped his restless movements for a moment. कुछ देर के लिए अपना restless movement को stop करते. His hand ceased beating up and down. He said, means it was a relief. The mother cried again, Fatik, my darling. She was crying. बहुत जोरों से रो रहा था. लेकिन Fatik का तो अभी पूरा means condition, very bad condition, very poor condition, means he's almost at the verge. You know, champs, he is almost at the verge of his death. Fatik very slowly turned his head and without seeing anybody said, Mother, the holidays have come. Ma, chuti chole esche. Means the holidays is there. That means what? This is a complete holiday for the Fatik. That means he leaves this world. He dies. So heart-touching story. क्या होता था अगर थोड़ा प्यार उसे दिया जाता था? If the mother, means the mother should have analyzed कि मेरा जो बेटा जो बोल रहा है उसमें, छोटा बेटा जो बोल रहा है उसमें सच कितना है. She should have tried to analyze that one. See, this is a very critical age. ये जो age है ना, this is a very critical age. Means the parents should understand तो ये जो adolescence है, is a very critical age. They needs love. They are not child, they are not adult. They should be given recognition. उन लोगों को recognition दिया चाहिए. यहाँ पर the end of Fatik is because of dejection. कोई भी उसे accept नहीं किया. He was without love, a mere boy of 14 years who has lost his father at a very early age. And now what happened? Calcutta जाते along with his uncle with the expectation that there might be some change, but there also no change. Village में चारों तरफ खेलते थे, so many friends were there. He was the ringleader of his friends. लेकिन आज he is considered to be the most stupid boy in the school. आज उनका स्कूल में सभी उसको stupid समझते हैं. Even his cousins they also used to make fun of him. So this is the story of Otik Chakraborty. Okay, the homecoming, and this is the part 2 of the video. I have already uploaded the part 1 in my channel. You can go and find out in the description box also, or it is there in the playlist. Okay, इसको बहुत अच्छी तरह से पढ़िए, go through the workbooks, वर्कबुक का जितना भी आपका एक्सप्लेनेशन है उसको भी पढ़िए, मेरा वीडियो को भी वॉच करिए, ठीक है, और दोनों मिला के अच्छी तरह से पढ़िए. ओके, बाय टू ऑल ऑफ माय चैम्प्स. आज थोड़ा जो स्टोरी था इट्स थोड़ा इमोशनल था, इट्स वेरी हर्ट टचिंग स्टोरी. ओके, बाय टू ऑल ऑफ यू, बाय टू ऑल माय चैम्प्स.